I just want to welcome everybody back. We've been off for a few months. And the day is October the 2nd, and this is the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union Policy Draft Committee. What I'll do is I'll go through the agenda items to say what they are and the order in which we have them, and then we can entertain some others that we may want to have down that we considered for next meeting, or some comments along that line if need be. So the agenda items tonight is public comments will be the first thing we have. The second item is to take care of the minutes from June 12th on the list. The third item is fixed access policy 1100, and the fourth item is 3115 prevention and conflict of interest procurement. The fifth item is a travel reimbursement discussion there, update. The next one is 4327 Family Medical Leave Act, and policy 5411 is comprehensive HID, bloodborne pathogens, administrative reg section they added to that discussion. 3100 transportation, and then we have 9 for the tracking sheets to go through that, and then I have left down another section for others, and so things that we want to add on to maybe not be considered this time, but be add on for the policy committee to talk about, will hit under the other categories, and then depending on what they are, we can handle those. So at this time, I asked, after reading through the agenda, is that format, the form is in and the order is in, is that appropriate for everyone, or do we need to change anything around?
It's good.
Okay. Because everybody is not fully known to the community, I would like to just start and have Nathan take the individuals that are here so we can let the community know who's here.
Okay. I'm Lisa Poplaski, Administrative Assistant to the Assistant Superintendent.
Tammy Stoll, Pownell School Board.
Sandy Foster, Woodford Principal.
Bruce Lee Clark from the CDC.
Scott McInerney, Shaftesbury School Board.
And I'm Robert Plunkett, Mount Anthony Union School Board.
Dick France, Woodford Board.
And Leon Johnson from Mount Anthony. Okay, with that said, we have already acknowledged that there were several members. Frank Barnes couldn't be here, Dave Ario couldn't be here, and Donna Leap is not here today. So at this time, I open the meeting up for public comments. On the public comments I just received, and what we just received is an email from Laura, and I'll in that email ask several questions about what we plan to do in the future when if the board were to go out and consolidate and so forth along that line. I don't want to really spend a lot of time speculating on it. Besides, I wanted to make sure I got that in the minutes that, well, this was a question that was asked. We'll look at that in terms of what it is at the time when it's necessary to talk about what it is the district policy committee needs to do to talk about unification along that line. That's basically all I want to say for that. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, minutes from June 12th is out there.
Move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. For the minutes of June 12th, 2017. Are there any comments about the minutes?
I may have missed it, but I didn't actually see it in the packet, so I've not had a chance to review them. So
It's on the website.
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I'll set it right now. Thank you.
So, is there anyone else else that have,
Mhm.
so you okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, we have, been moved and second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. The next policy on is fixed access, and that's, the reason they're on, policy 1100 has gone through, the warning and a process, and we did not have any changes that were recommending to be made to that. This is a policy that, a member remain talked about, as a result of an audit, we were required to do certain things. And this is what that policy piece addressed, and we sent it all around, and there was no real comments to right now, and so all we were doing is bringing it back and said it's okay to have this go on to the boards for warning. I mean, for adoption. Okay. Anything else? So again, just to remind everybody, just because the policy goes on to be adopted, if somebody finds that something is out there that needs to be, that we missed or something at that point, we still come back, because it's gonna come back through the adoption process, where from each board, just like it went through the warning process, and if there's some comment or something that needed to be added, it will come back to this board before it goes to the final round. So, if not, I'll just ask if everybody's in favor of letting that go on to SVSU to get started for the adoption process, okay? Policy number 3115 is prevention and conflict of interest of procurement. It's the same situation as this one. This is one as a result to auditing of the central office down for accounting, that were some things that we needed to tidy up on, and that's what was in that policy, and it went around to the board for warning.
Leah, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Because the copy that I have shows, unless I'm crazy, which is possible, I don't see any changes from, I mean, I didn't go back and look at the actual one that we've adopted. I'm assuming there must be some changes that are there, and I guess all I would ask is that before the boards actually go and adopt this, that they get the cross out in the bolds, and if there aren't any, then
All right.
in
This-
this one there isn't. I couldn't
No.
see
Yeah, this
anything.
is another one that came directly from the AOE or VASBO. It was like a model policy, well, kind of model.
So this
but
is
the
a new,
states-
this is a brand new policy. We've
Yeah.
never
Right.
adopted it before.
Right.
Right, and so there's no changes.
Okay.
I mean, and then we didn't have any changes. Once it
That's
was
why
looked at,
that's why
there's no changes. That's right.
sheet works the way it does.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I had this remembrance that we had actually gone through some of this before.
Yeah, I didn't say it clear enough, I don't guess, when I was saying that this is
Have
what,
we ever,
as a
have we
result.
ever looked at this?
Not
Yes.
this, we looked at something for employees, supervisor employees, something.
Right, this is
Right,
the
but
first time for this.
This is the first time we've seen it, but it's
No,
already
no,
been.
no, no, this has
No.
gone
That's
through,
what, I'm just trying to clarify where we are in the process. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
we've gone through all of the boards
Right,
for the warning.
Right.
And now we're back for the final review before going to adoption. After going through all of the boards, there were no changes made to what we sent out the first time.
okay, that's where I think we are, yeah,
Yeah.
We
okay.
brought it to the policy committee in June.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't have,
Okay,
well, the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union must have been May.
Maybe it was.
They warned it in May.
Yeah,
yeah,
so we would
Okay,
have,
yeah, I went
come to
back, and that's
policy
when I
first.
went back and looked at. Okay, that's fine, we're fine.
okay. So with that, we'll get a nod from everybody if it's okay to pass this on to SVSU for adoption. Okay. The travel reimbursement policy 4121 is one that we had out, and that particular policy had an update in the wording in one section, 9. This was going around the policy, and the wording that was changed there that seemed like it needed some more strength in it when it went through the system. Number 9, reimbursement will be only for those expenses that are deemed reasonable and necessary by SVSU, and it will see the administrative regs for that. And so there was several questions that came up with what is reasonable, what's necessary, and who has the okay to say what's reasonable and necessary, and that we need to clarify that. That's the administration will be specifying what those particular things are in those guidelines for travel reimbursement in administrative regs. And that's what we changed in that particular policy.
Was that a change that came from one of the boards as a result of it going around and being warned, or was that something that was changed by virtue of somebody here? Do we know?
That was a change that came as a result of information that was asked out of central office, yes, to the boards, and to let us know that the issue was, how the issue was occurring and what was occurring, and whether it made sense to clarify it. So it was clarification that kept coming up. This is not really clear, this is not really clear. So that cleared it up by saying what it is that we were wanting to have right here for a central office to be able to do what we're asking them to do in that particular section. Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else? We can, if not, I would like to have this one go on out to SVSU as well,
And to the boards.
to the board.
Sorry.
Okay. The next one here is Family Medical Leave Act 4327, and this is one that we had made a change in it based on some things in the teacher's contract and the ESP contract in terms of making sure that we was standardizing our efforts in line with this particular with the normal medical leave and what we were actually doing in terms of being rigorously in handling certain things. So there was a statement there, and this hadn't changed. This statement was there the first time. Any time limits are required are listed in the following policy may be modified by the bargaining group, a unit, collective bargaining agreement, and so forth. Please refer to the CBA for unit-specific verifications. So that was still there. I just wanted to remind everybody that that's what we did based on contract things that we did in terms of negotiating the contracts. That took care of a question, a problem that was being asked, and then we send that around to all of the boards so we can look at it in central office. Okay?
With any luck, we should be able to reduce a 21-page policy to,
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Because,
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
it's mostly law, so everything
Yeah.
that's stricken
was all of that.
was,
will be gone.
was more trouble than it was worth, because the statutes are already there.
Right.
So the CBA takes over?
No,
No.
not entirely.
Okay.
What takes, so yes, the CBA, when it's doing the work that both state law and federal law are obligating. So what takes precedence first is federal law, second state law, third CBA, and then if anything is left over, which I doubt, this policy
We'll fill in the gap.
will fill in whatever gaps there might be, and if anybody can figure that all out, you can write a bar exam question and probably pass, because nobody can figure it out, usually.
Okay.
So that was, and
But
some
you
things
tried.
that the district wanted to do to be consistent with all its members in terms of the collection bargaining agreement, when I said that, and the ESP group, Well, it is something out there that took place in terms of medical leave, the time off and so forth, and whether they really qualified for it, and we made it a form. That was a request that they made, and that was something that we were doing already, but we had not put it into the policy. And so we
Right.
said, okay, guys, we hear you, we'll put it in there and make it consistent for everybody.
Right.
Okay?
At least this'll be shorter.
Yeah, yeah. So, with that, we've, I would like to get a nod and okay if that's good to go on to SVSU in terms of the adoption process. Okay. We do. All right. Policy number 5411 is comprehensive HIV bloodborne packaging. And in the minutes, you saw that Donna had promised that we would have the regs attached to that. And that's what that took place this time. They added the exposure plan, control plans, for the administrative regs were now attached to this policy as promised out there.
And that's what this is.
And that's what's there. And so, not having any changes made to the policy except for the addition of the administrative breaks, and this should be good to go on to the SVSU as well. Unless, okay. We all good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just have to ask if the procedure, if the actual procedures are included in those administrative regulations, or is this just an outline?
No, these are the procedures.
Yes,
Those
these
are-
are the, everything. This was all written by the nurses.
Well,
That was what she was supposed to do, work with the nurses and then get all that and then come back, and they did. And we,
as long as the actual procedure is there,
It's-
they
Yeah.
need something to refer to, I guess is
Right.
what I'm getting
Correct.
at.
right.
So the Dick, the
If this is a
protocols are here.
guideline, that's not what you need.
No.
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 These are protocols. So these are,
This is-
these are descriptions of what should happen in
Right.
such an, if this happens, then that should happen, that should follow. And that's what's required of every employer.
Right, and we've said we were doing a bunch of those things again. You know, it says, okay, if they have a user one with blood with the spill, I think we talked about there. It says, and somebody rushing to clean up. No. Certain individuals are instructed as to what needs to happen and how to do it and how to get students to stay away from it or any other people.
So that's
along that way. So
specified.
That's
Yes.
specified.
It is.
It was missing that before.
Yeah. And that's what, we cleared it all up. And so this time, tonight, we're cleaning up a lot of the things that we needed to clean up in terms of the policies and so forth. So, with that, I get a nod, if that's okay, is to have it go on to the board. Will be just great. So, all right. That's, 5111. Policy number 3100, transportation, is up and has been around to all of the boards. And I didn't get any comments back from transportation. And no one was here to speak about a BSD concern, I think, about the bus loading. It was taken care of, about overloading of the buses. And the administration took care of that in terms of notification of all the supposedly individuals that were violating that by just automatically saying, okay, a bus is passing down my road, I'll just get on and fill the bus up. By the time the bus got to the end of the road, its travel district, it was already full, but it was full of students, but the students were within the distance that they were supposed to be walking to school and not riding the bus. And so that was all taken care of in the BSD area. That's the only thing that I know about out there for that one. That would be cleaned up and ready to go out to SVSU as well. I mean, to the boards, yeah. Sorry about that. With that, that brings us to the tracking sheet. And let me see. And this is, it's been a long time since we was able to look at the tracking sheet and see where everything went through, and actually was worn all the way through with the dates for each one of the policies without being held up in any particular point out here. And it just shows that which boards approved it and when and the date, and that there was no additional things. And so we have required by state law, and why we, let's see here, the administrative regs column, we didn't check that for confirmation on those.
So for example, yeah, under
Yeah.
the,
That one.
they should be under, it should be checked under the 5411.
Yeah.
I don't think they were there for the travel reimbursement, but I could be wrong.
No, they're
No.
not yet.
But
The transportation, there were a couple there.
yeah, that should have been.
Those, I don't think that's 100% done. Those were the regs that I believe that were there.
That were
And probably Donna needs, or Jim probably needs to look at it one more time.
Yep.
But
That would
that's
be,
still, that was a check, but they attached to that.
yeah.
And that's what we wanted to know, that we have them attached.
Right.
Administrative regulations confirmation for being attached to those.
So does this mean at their October meetings, a lot of boards are gonna do a lot of voting on
That's correct.
these warrant policies?
For
We are
adopting
open?
these.
Yes,
Yes.
be everybody except Woodford and BSD. Because their packet's already been warned.
Yeah.
It's already gone out for warning.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so, that's an indication of where we are out here. So,
Can I just go back? Can
Yes.
somebody step back and walk me through? Are you saying that even though the committee warned it the boards like BSD, and Bob, help me out.
Yeah.
Even though you warned it for adoption this coming month, you right now feel that you can't, even because why?
you can't, what do you mean?
I'm not,
No.
it's Rob, my dad.
I say, I'm sorry, Rob.
I'm
Rob,
not sure what you mean.
I don't know, but Rob, I just asked the question, are the boards gonna be able to do this? Rob, I'm sorry, I
Are we gonna
apologize.
be able to,
To adopt these, and I was told everybody but Woodford and BSD.
Because
Yes.
their packets, their agendas have already been warned. They're meeting this week.
And these are not on the agenda.
How could they not, be-
Is that
excuse me, this is what I need somebody to walk me through.
Okay.
How could they not be on the agenda if they were warned for this vote last month?
I assume, that's a better question for Leon, but you let the chairs know that they're ripe for adoption, correct? Or,
Once they get warned by everybody, they always come back to the policy committee, just in case.
All I can tell you is that I've been on this for about 15 or 20 years, and that's not the case, but
That's what-
even if,
I-
but
That's
even if
what's
it,
been happening since
Well,
I've
that's
been
what
I
here.
understand, but even if that were the case, the boards, it seems to me, are the legal entities, and they've warned this for adoption.
They warned it, and then we bring it back here and says, okay, is there any changes? And if there's no changes, we're now saying, send it back out to the boards for adoption.
So
Now-
this process that you've just described basically slows the process down again by at least another month.
Well,
And not that
yeah.
these are all that critical, but but it just strikes me as a layer of redundancy, particularly on those that, for which there were absolutely no changes by
Well,
anybody.
I agree.
Excuse me, but we are basically advisory to the boards. That's our role, is to be advisory and not a gatekeeper. And so it just strikes me, I don't know, I'm not gonna make a big deal of it, but it just strikes me that the boards have just lost control of their own agenda. And that, it seems to me, is not necessarily appropriate. I get it if there was a lot of feedback, but there was essentially none on almost all of these.
Right, but we don't know that.
But, and
That's what the board representatives do when it comes back to the policy, is lets us know if their board feels there should be any changes. That's why it comes back.
I understand that, I'm just,
But I
it
don't
just
think
strikes me as yes, it just strikes me that basically these were all warned. Granted, 2 of them were warned in August, but the rest were warned in June. And it strikes me as that,
well,
it
here's,
just seems odd to me.
Okay,
okay,
it's
and
always been done
I'll
this
say
way.
here, what had happened a couple times in the past, and I always say BSD first, if they decided, okay, let me just go ahead and warn it and adopt it, and then it comes back and we got some legitimate changes that are concerns in which all the other boards had, and we gotta go back and make that policy, make those changes, and send it back to that board for
Right.
reconsideration again after they've said, I've adopted. And so,
I
we try
get
not
that.
to
I get
send them
that.
ahead of time unless they come back here, and we can all agree that, oh, we don't know of any changes from anybody, we're gonna send it back out there, and somebody might still be asleep and says, oh, you know, I went to sleep on this, it's one, and now we're gonna hold the process up. Yes, it may be another month or so for that.
I get that, this is not one of those cases even remotely.
Yeah.
And I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, I'm just thinking, we chose not to meet, or whatever reason we didn't meet in September, but quite frankly, the boards had warned this at least a month and a half ago. And we knew by that time, when they were warning, that there was nothing. And we're still saying, nope, can't do it because it's not in your agenda. And I'm just asking that maybe the chairs, or maybe we just rethink that for a moment. And it may not, it may be a moot point in a few months, but it just strikes me as a giant waste of time.
Sounds to me
Sure.
like the policy on policies might be right for review, because they're.
Yeah, because actually, I believe it
That's one
says in
that
the
we
policy, the policy
Yeah.
1000,
I know.
that it has to come back
Yeah.
after warning.
And that's, you
But
know,
it's-
I hear you, but I'm just giving that example, that's what has
I-
happened in the past.
It has happened, but the number of times that's happened, I can count on one hand.
Right. And if that's what we wanted to do, is say, okay, let's just let it go to one board and just keep on around the cycle,
If there's
still
nothing
won't-
there.
it still won't, it may be approved at that board level, in that district, but it still won't make it to SVSU
Exactly, until
before. it goes-
everybody has.
So everybody has done that.
Although,
Right.
You know.
with Bruce's, what I'll call it, complaint, argument, you can describe, whatever, what Bruce is saying.
Observation.
Has that come up from any of the boards? Have they complained about the procedure that?
About not having something aboard to them. When we did, we had a couple of times where something came down from the state that says, you have to have this in place.
Right.
And we all agreed that,
48
and let the board chairs know and the superintendent know that this policy is on the fast track, and that we can't wait for anybody, it's not any changes, it's just like it is, and we told them that they need to go on around with it, and that happened.
And it
So-
happens.
And it happened, so if something was out there like that, that needed to happen.
With one major, can I say, one major exception, and that was the criminal background,
Records check.
and criminal, background and records, criminal records check. That one was a state mandated policy, and we were at least 3 years late. because it sat and sat and sat
We
with
just couldn't
boards.
get anybody to really agree on.
That was, I would say, the big one.
Yeah. That would-
And it didn't matter how many times you changed the language, you have a statute that you gotta live with.
Right.
And you have to have a policy.
Right.
So, but there are a few occasions where I would agree that major language changes, but it just means that that board has to go back and revise if we've revised. But when we have nothing,
Well, the policy,
seems odd.
the policy on drafting policies
I know,
Do that, well.
does not specify that it has to come back here,
exactly.
but
It always
We-
has.
But somebody
I know
has to
that it
make
doesn't
that
say
decision
decision.
somewhere in the system, and I'm not sure you want Leon to make that kind of decision.
Right.
No, and that's why we have the tracking sheet to try to keep up with it, so that
Yeah.
we can get it down, but
That didn't
still,
fall out well, did it?
it
No,
has to
that's
come
okay.
back
I
here.
didn't it doesn't say that in the policy on policies, as I recall.
It doesn't say it, that it has to come back here, it just
After
says
warning.
that the committee will take all comments and requests for modification into consideration.
But
Right.
So
if
how
there-
else
doesn't
can we
say
do
the
it if it doesn't come here?
Because if there are no requests, it doesn't have to come here.
Yeah, but we
That's
don't know that there won't be any requests.
That's
Sometimes
the
I don't
whole
have the
thing that we
minutes
got into.
beforehand, or all of them, or
I
just
understand,
before.
I understand it, Lisa, I'm just saying that in this case, the last meeting, the last warning was in the middle of August.
No,
So, as I see for each of these,
September 13th.
We'll.
whatever. I don't wanna fight about it, I just wanted to make an observation, and it struck me as odd.
Right. I understand what you're saying, and so we'll,
Let's just
as
think
time
it
come
through.
up, we'll think it through,
Right.
if there's a need for that, to be able to try to expedite things as much as possible. We'll see what we need to do for changing wording to be able to reflect that,
Mhm.
put that burden out there if it needs to be out there. Of that risk, if we want to risk it going around and then change it, so it's, that's fine.
Mhm.
We can take that.
It
Okay.
only took us 4 years to get the policy on policies
I know,
passed, so we're still ahead of schedule, aren't we?
Yeah.
right.
So now, with that, we are up to number 10 in terms of others out there. And there were, the question is, how do we get things on the list to discuss to this committee? We've now cleaned up all of those. Well, I mentioned before, we listened to some of the things that may be going on in the community, your own boards of an interest for you, and then we'll take those, and at the same time, we said that we're gonna try to go out and pull some of our older ones in
Mhm.
to look at, and we had listed some of those, what was that?
Mhm.
Some of the older ones on the list, as to be considered.
Oh, you just
And-
want,
Well, yes, I was just going to go back to the policy at the bottom. The reason these are on here for discussion at the bottom, number 10, as other policies for future review, is that the superintendent has made a big effort, a great effort to go out with, throughout SVSU and all the districts to talk about safety. And I thought it would be prudent for us to then come back and just read again, which I was reading through them and so forth, and I may have missed something, to see whether if there were anything for policy number 32, emergency closing, or policy number 4400, safety and security of employees, and policy 5087, threat and disruption to the schools. Is there anything out there that we need to make a change to in light of all the things that are going on now? And that plan, emergency plan that you just got through going through, I think this board just owe it to itself to go back, because these are old. In terms of the dates, when I started to look at them, they were 2001, 2003, 2000, and so forth. And I'm saying it's time to bring those back up. So now that answers the question for someone else. How do we get some of these things on the policy? Well, One, we said, in the policy, that we were gonna go back and try to turn these things over.
Mhm.
And so, between central office, myself, and other individuals on the board, we do that and we bring them up and have these down. Just today, there was, one other one that that need to probably be, looked at and considered for that, and that's, public participation at board meetings. That's policy number 7300. And that one, we can, put on the list to have some discussions for that after somebody would have a chance to read that through in light of some activities that may be going on in the community.
We also talked about that, too. Background checks.
Oh,
I don't know if that's something that needs attention, it just was requested at this committee.
and the other
Criminal
was
records and background checks?
4080, background
Mhm.
checks and criminal records. That could be on that list
Okay.
as well. So that's how we get the policy. So at this time, I can ask, are there any other things that we need to be
I can't
trying
get
to
my
look at?
internet to work here, but I have a question about if we have a policy, I imagine we have a policy about what kids can see on the internet. Do we have a policy about putting our kids on the internet?
Putting them.
Like images,
Images.
image-wise and things like that?
There
That is
There
our
is a-
telecommunications
the-
policy.
And the
There's
Family
two.
Education Rights Privacy Act
Okay.
policy.
Yeah.
So that FERPA policy refers to posting of identifiable information
Okay.
and/or images and the waivers that should go out to parents on that. That's where that.
Right,
that
that's
comes
where
out
that
of.
is. You
Okay.
That
just
comes out
can't
of
just
FER. It's a good
take for
question.
an example, taking pictures of everybody and then posting it out. You
Right.
can't do that.
Right.
You just, I mean,
Well,
without permission.
as the
Well, without an update.
entity,
Right.
is there anything that addresses parents? Is there anything that I mean, I'm just throwing this out there
I
because you
don't
said
think
safe
that
book.
we can direct, no,
Right.
I would.
Right, I
In terms of
understand that.
directing the parents and say what they can't do
Right.
on their own with their own system of doing things.
Yep.
Oh,
Uh,
do I,
Like on a field trip,
do-
or- I guess it's a new thought for me. I'm kind of curious because there are digital incursions into non-digital activities that I see happening that are sort of fascinating to me, and I'll give you an example.
good.
One is participation in an art show.
Right,
I'm aware of someone who's not allowed to do that because they don't want their personal image shown.
Mhm.
There's no breakout of the policy of their work and their image.
Right.
So it becomes, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, okay, that's a way of dividing kids. You end up having a different experience in your education, because if you don't want your image posted, then suddenly you can't be in an art show, or you can't be in the newspaper. That was the
Right.
other. So I'm wondering if this has been thought about.
well, that's true, yes, but if if we use that same scenario, parents have to give approval for their
Right.
kids to be.
Actually, the kids
photographed,
have to be,
participate
parents have to be given the chance to opt
Opt
out.
out of them.
That's different than giving permission,
Well, yeah, I guess.
but it's,
Okay.
well, it is, it's just,
Yeah.
so the parents have to be given the chance to opt out of having their child's image, the child's image. I don't think it has anything to do with the child's artwork,
Right.
for example.
Okay.
So if the child made, at MAU made a pot and they posted pictures of the different pottery
Mhm.
on the MAU or Facebook page, I don't think there's anything that would
Prevent that.
prevent
No,
that.
right.
Yeah.
So it's just the photo that's
Yes.
just.
The
or is it
image of the
name,
person,
or
of this,
Yeah.
You have to read
Okay.
that policy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's,
Gotcha. Do you
um,
know the number? Because I
Yep,
can't,
hang on.
Well,
It's
yeah,
I'm
that-
sorry.
FVRPA. That's okay.
There it is.
Can't get
So-
on.
It's,
You've got 6141
Awesome.
so you can look at that
and
one.
6150.
Awesome.
Okay,
Where,
okay.
where are the SVSU policies on your website?
Oh,
They on
you
the
go to,
whereabout,
About
all
Us.
About us.
Oh, that's where it is, right.
About
And
us.
there's policies and procedures.
And then
Okay.
the
And
policies and
Here's
procedures.
just a little lesson in case anybody decides they want to print it. If
Right,
you
and that's
just
difficult in
open,
printing unless you have two
Well-
screens like I do.
if you just open a policy by clicking on it and then you go to print that, it's gonna print out really big,
Okay.
Right.
Yes, it
okay?
is.
They want you to read it
stop
on the
that
site
from
and not be able to
happening,
copy.
If you click on the header, so where it says 1000 community relations, you
Mhm.
click on that, then scroll down.
You know,
Now you have all your policies in a PDF. And it will print, you'll have to download it, and then it will print in a normal way.
And plus, when you hit that title, it tells you something about every one of those policies.
Yeah.
Right off to the side over there, so it makes
Okay.
it easy, so
Thank
hit
you.
7,000 or 6,000 or 3,000, and then you got a synopsis of all the things out there along that line.
Great.
Okay. So, is there, that was Marie, anything else, that,
I just wanted to mention, and I'm not sure, I don't think I'm talking out of turn here, but I'm not sure if the rest of the policy is aware, but MAU, the board is going through a lawsuit, and it's not done yet, but part of what they're talking about is they want policies for the Mount Anthony board to adopt. Obviously, the Mount Anthony board, the way we are set up, it can't be done just by one board, it's gonna be through the entire board, so just kind of wanted to let the policy committee at least know that there might be something about that coming down. It's regarding open meeting laws and whatnot, I think it might
Right.
have a little bit to do with one of the policies that.
it would be under policy 7300,
Right.
and we can take and consider
Sure.
things out there, because whatever it is that comes up will be for all of the boards, even though it's being raised up along that line, so we can handle that.
Right.
The information that's being requested, we can handle. If one person wanted to say, oh, I want to try to insert that into a policy, 2 or 3 people, we can do it that way, or we can listen to other things out here, and we've heard comments from Mount Anthony. It says, okay, we'll try to stick this in here, this particular point in here in the meeting, because it makes sense for everybody, and then have the policy fixed that way. So it's several ways we can do these policies. If someone had particular love for a particular policy, or the one that I just mentioned, says, you know, I like to take that and go through it in details of emergency closing and so forth, and we would say, okay, you can head that up. So what I'm saying, the door is open for anybody that wants to take one of the policies in its format and have it. Lisa can send you a copy of it, and you can try modifying it and then sending it back to her, so that when we're at the meeting here, we can flash it up on the board and say, this is what I think needs to happen in here, and everybody can look at it and says, well, you know, I don't quite agree with that, or whatever, or we think we need to wordsmith this way. So it makes it a little easier to do it that way. And some people like to sit down and just play with the stuff and then send it back. So I'm saying there's a way to do it both ways. We can do it when we get here by putting it up on the board, or we can take one of them that you have a particular love for and make some changes to it, send it back, and then we'll have it. Those changes will be inserted in the policy so that we can discuss them here. If you do, just let me know. So right now we have 4 policies on that will be considered for our next meeting, and I'll be asking Donna if she had any. We always look for information to be coming down from the state and see whether they have any. I missed 40, 80, so we got 2, 4, 5 of them. Just remember. And that's how, and then if that's, too many, we'll take care as many as we can. If not, we'll do just whatever we need to do that. Is there anything else that come before this committee tonight? I knew we were gonna be going pretty fast here tonight because of what we've done in the past months, and that was good. And so, as always, I really appreciate the efforts that everybody put in preparing for this committee together to make things go smoothly here and to be able to understand and recognize and consent to certain things and without having them always be in your own words. So with that, I'll say that we can ask for, we can dismiss a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. It's all been moved and second. Everybody's in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Probably Mark, you did it.